So the next session has worked its way out onto the start-finish line, and Matt, this is one of the biggest grids that we've got here all weekend. And you may think, well, yes, they're all minis, but they're not necessarily all minis. They're all sort of all open to all four-seater passenger cars from the Mini family, which sort of explains the appearance of the Wolseley Hornet, which we've got out there, but also I think it's one of your personal favourites, the Austin Mini van, which we've got out there as well.
Yeah, I love the van. It's done so well actually so far this weekend. It qualified not too badly, so that is definitely going to be one to watch out for. But as you said, yeah, a little bit of a different turn now for the Pre-66. This is a series which originated here at the Mini Festival as an endurance race for Pre-66 Minis. It was here between 2012 and 2016. It then disappeared, but it's great to have it back for this year, as we said, because we are celebrating the 65 years of the Mini mark, and great to have the support as well from Sanwa Trophy, but it's here to make its return for this after an 8-year hiatus. So looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. So we're going back, harking back to Pre-66, and let's take you through how the grid lines up as they head off onto the formation lap. It's going to be Nathan Heathcote and Tom Bell on the front row of the grid. The second row then sees number 25, which is Adam Morgan, and 76, Mike Jordan, two current stars of the BTCC, and one of them an ex-star of the BTCC as well. Row 3, number 33 is going to be Matthew Page with 193, which is Phil Bullen-Brown. The fourth row, Endarth Owens, and 55, Jeff Smith. The fifth row, number 21, Kieran Edgecombe, and 45, David Ogden. The sixth row lines up with number 10, Freddie Hunt, son of James Hunt, and 103, Amy Watts. The seventh row then sees number 171, which is Dan Lewis, and number 3, Giles Page. The eighth row, triple eight, which is David Wheeler, and Daniel Wheeler, and number 7, Mark Burnett. The ninth row, 101, is Stephen Woodrow, and 306, Joe Polly. The 10th row, number 85, is Sam Summerhayes, and 93, Tom Wesley. The 11th row, 88, Nick Paddy, with 176, Simon Goodliff. The 12th row, number 37, is Charlie Cooper, and 23, which is Cloud Cassina. The 13th row, number 9, Neil MacArthur, and 73, Nigel Fraser-Kerr. The 14th row is going to see number 102, Bruce Galliford, and 70, Alexander Schlupta. The 15th row, number 101, Alfie Woodrow, and 19, Benjamin Chiron. The 16th row, number 75, Raphael Edouard, and 142, Francesco Roothouse. And the final place on the grid will be number 172, Jean-Francois Bardet, to give us 33 for this Pre-66 mini race. So again, looking good. Sunshine is out. It's a perfect day here at Minifest.
It really is, and there's still people working their way in. I was looking over earlier, and there's still sort of cars just producing a steady stream into the top paddock and the bottom paddock as well. So it's nice to see so many people here, and the weather's starting to behave as well, isn't it?
Certainly is, yeah, looking really nice indeed. And just saw a quick glimpse of the back of the van there, so that's working its way to the grid. The Wolseley Hornet of Neil MacArthur is, I think, a little bit further up on the grid, so that's going to be one to watch out for as well. So keep an eye on those couple of unique cars, but it is, of course, the original really Mini that works its way to the front, the Cooper or the Cooper S's. That'll be there on the front of the grid with Nathan Heathcote, who in qualifying yesterday was about 0.4 of a second quicker than Tom Bell, but we know that Tom has to give that car over to Joe Ferguson for the latter race, so it does mean that Joe Ferguson will once again be on the front row, because his time was also good enough for second on the grid in the times we saw yesterday. So Joe was a little bit quicker, but Tom still qualifies on the front row of the grid. So looking forward to this as they work their way down. Got the van into the pit lane, which is not what we want to see, so that's not good for Nick Paddy. Hopefully he comes onto the circuit at the end of the pit lane, but we're about to go. Red lights on, and 20 minutes of Pre-66 Minis get underway now. It's a good start from the poleman of Nathan Heathcote, who just squeezes ahead of Tom Bell, who tries to get in line, but then there's got a car of Adam Morgan, who's on the inside line there, so he tries to squeeze his way up into second place. Nathan Heathcote a little bit sideways there, so Tom Bell gets some momentum around the outside, and we're going to be about 3 wide, I think, up towards Druids on this first occasion, so they're going to sort themselves out in the order of Heathcote, with Adam Morgan just about being in second place, and Tom Bell is still trying to be squeezed down the inside, but it's going to be eventually third place in towards Graham Hill Bend. But of course these cars are pristine again, they are very well looked after. We've got one sideways, just get a clip in the left rear there, and that's not good to see, and the one that made the clip, I think, was the number 1 machine.
Yeah, so unfortunately a few drivers being caught out on the opening lap. Nathan Heathcote is trying to make good his escape up at the front. He does have Adam Morgan giving chase, but Even still, it is very, very close indeed, because Tom Bell isn't that far away in third place, and he wants to start applying that pressure. So too does Endaf Owen. He will try and pick his way through and past Phil Bullen-Brown, who in turn is trying to work his way through and past Mike Jordan. Phil Bullen-Brown dives his way to the inside of Mike Jordan, and Endaf Owen tries to do the same. We're going to be 3 wide, 4 wide almost on the run up towards the run up towards Druids. So all the way around the outside, Mike Jordan's trying to make it work. Can he make it work around the outside of Tom Bell? Very sideways on the exit. Endaf Owen has somehow come out best in that one, and he's trying to pick up another place. Mike Jordan tries to fight back, and Endaf Owen picks up 2 places out of that.
Yeah, slightly different mini this time for Endaf Owens, but it's still a mini that goes sideways, which is what he likes in this terms of racing. Sideways almost there for the second place car of what's now going to be Tom Bell. He finds himself just ahead of Adam Morgan as they turn away in towards Clearways and Clark Curve. Just to say, the spin we had down at Graham Hill Bend on that first lap was Joe Polly, and the one that just tagged the rear end was the through machine of Giles Page. So that is the 2 cars that were involved. The van, by the way, did get out the pit lane, so it's towards the back, but it's going to try and make its way through as best as possible as the fight for what's going to be 4th place turns in towards Paddock Hill Bend once again, and this time it's going to be number 55 trying to make the move, which is going to be Jeff Smith. Does he get through? I don't think he does, but up ahead of him, if those 2 do get involved in something, he might be able to work his way through.
Yeah, Jeff Smith through and past Mike Jordan. He will try and give chase once again as they go back down the hill and in towards Graham Hill Bend. There's battles literally everywhere you look, no matter where on circuit, aside from Nathan Heathcote up at the front. He's just started to extend that margin more and more and more, away from Tom Bell, away from Adam Morgan, Phil Bullen-Brown, Endaf Owens, what is now Jeff Smith, and then Mike Jordan, before we get back to David Ogden, who isn't really too far away either. And one thing that we have seen in the 7s, the MiGs, but not this race, is the pack racing. It's just one solid line of cars. There's no packs forming. It is just car after car after car. Yeah,
they're all kind of evenly matched, aren't they? They're kind of as they were standard back in pre-66 terms, and you just have to try and have the driver ability to try and make your way through on someone. So it's great to see this form of racing. A little bit of dust being kicked up at Paddock Hill Bend, nothing major to worry about, just a car running slightly wide on that occasion. But Nathan Heathcote still continues to lead then, ahead of Tom Bell by about 1.6 seconds as it stands. Adam Morgan, who was out with his touring car last weekend at Croft, that car did have a run with Dad Russell Morgan, who was meant to be here with him this weekend, but it's Adam who's doing the 2 races. But Russell gave that car a run out in the Classic Touring Car 66 race last weekend. And then behind we've got Phil Bullen-Brown, and Endaf Owens now up into 5th place. So he hasn't got to do as much work as he did in the earlier race that we saw for the Melias, but Endaf Owens still having a cracking battle at the minute. And on this occasion, is it going to be Jeff Smith trying to look his way through? Yes, he does. On the outside, on the run down towards Paddock Hill Bend, the black car with the white roof of Jeff Smith does now go through, and further back we're going to have a move as well. By the looks of it, it's going to be Mike Jordan, who has potentially been passed there by the number 45 machine, which is going to see David Ogden through.
It is indeed. So Nathan Heathcote with another fastest lap of the race, and Stephen Woodrow and Alfie Woodrow, no matter, I'm not exactly sure which one it is, they're fighting so hard with the Edgecombe, Declan and Kieran Edgecombe in that car. They're working their way down in towards Graham Hill Bend absolutely together. Just sat behind them is Dan Lewis as he tries to close in yet more. Adam Morgan is still all over the tail and sideways behind Tom Bell. In the background is Phil Bullen-Brown just picking his way through Clearways and on towards Clark Curve. They can't afford to waste too much time, however, because Endaf Owens, we know how quick he is in a mini, and he will be wanting to close as much as possible. Back over the line goes Adam Morgan. He looks to the inside, looks to the outside, goes to the outside, commits to it, tries to make it work on Tom Bell. Will he manage to get the cutback as we climb back up the hill? Just a nibble at the curb and then up towards Druids. What can Adam Morgan do this time? He's shown the outside as Tom Bell goes defensive. Later on the brakes, pitches the car in sideways to try and scrub off some speed, but Adam Morgan, he just can't quite break through that initial barrier and work his way through and past. Nor can he, because now the inside opens up for him. Tom Bell is going to be on the outside. There's contact between the pair of them, but Adam Morgan muscles his way through and past Tom Bell, which then leaves Tom vulnerable up against Phil Bullen-Brown. Phil Bullen-Brown looks to the outside, then the inside, and Adam Morgan's got a problem.
He has indeed. I think that was very much, he thought he might have been in his touring car there, because he was very much robust to make his way down the inside of Tom Bell and made contact, as you said, but that has now unfortunately caused some damage to that car. So Adam Morgan is slow on the run through McLaren and in towards Clearways, and I fear Tom Bell might have a problem as well, because he's trying to get to the pit entrance, but in fact he's going to go around for another lap very slowly. So both of those cars that were involved in a bit of contact down at Graham Hill Bend are now going to be out of the race, unfortunately. So Tom Bell comes through slowly, and Adam Morgan will be, he's almost stopped on the exit of Clark Curve.
Oh, the car struck back into life, and he's now going to get it into the pit lane. Yeah, it's like it was almost like fuel surge or something. You just didn't quite want to carry him into the pit lane. Almost contact further back as Freddie Hunt is locked in battle now with Sam Summerhays. And obviously Freddie Hunt, the son of ex-Formula 1 world champion James Hunt, and absolutely they were side by side on the run through Druids. And of course Freddie Hunt's car, that's prepared by effectively Brundle Historic Motorsport, isn't it now? And it works with Adrian Flux as well. So Freddie's got a brilliant piece of machinery underneath him, but now he's having to go on the defence because Mark Burnett is right behind him, and they're going to be absolutely nose to tail as they come towards the start-finish line to tick another lap in the book.
Yeah, it looks like Freddie Hunt's lost a couple of positions on that lap. He was just inside the top 10, but as he comes through this time, he has, as you said, now dropped down into the clutches of the number 7 machine, so they will go in towards Paddock Hill Bend. And yeah, Hunt's down to 12th position, and it's going to be number 7, Mark Burnett, who's trying to find his way through on this occasion as they work their way up in towards Druids Corner. It's a lovely livery on that Freddie Hunt car as well. It's very nicely turned out for this meeting, as Tom Bell has finally found his way into the pit lane a lap later than Adam Morgan. So good news for both of them. As we said, that we're running in second and third place. What it does now mean is that Phil Bullock-Brown has got up into that second position. Third place as it stands is Jeff Smith. He is now ahead of Endarth Owens as they come up to the completion of another lap. But Nathan Heathcote continues to lead, and it's an extended margin up to 4 seconds. So he's absolutely flying in this race, and we still have 12 minutes to go.
We do indeed, so still 12 minutes of action between now and the checkered flag. Nathan Heathcote's lead up to 4.5 seconds and lapping fabulously consistent. The best lap of the race, which he currently holds, a 57.458. Last time through a 57.684. So beautifully consistent from Nathan Heathcote, and lapping consistently quicker than absolutely everybody else around him. We've got some very, very minor margins around. Last time we saw Freddie Hunt and the number 7 of Mark Burnett over the line, they were separated by only about a tenth of a second. We'll try and pick out exactly where they are next time they come through, because I'd imagine that gap will consistently come down over the coming laps as well. We can see the Wellesley Hornet just picking its way up towards Druids Corner now. And that's obviously being in the hands of Neil MacArthur. Whereabouts in the order is Neil as we look down the order? He's in 20th place. He's got Fraser Kerr just sat behind him, that being Nigel Fraser Kerr, and then just behind him is the number 23 machine of Cloud Casina. So he's got a bit of thinking to do as well, but the Wellesley Hornet absolutely sideways on the run through Surtees. Just because he may be the odd one out, he's not afraid to throw that car about, is he?
No, and unfortunately the minivan of Nick Paddy's back into the pit lane as well, so that is suffering something within the early stages of this race, but again didn't make it the start, had to come from the pit lane. So Nick is now in there with the bonnet off for the time being, as across the line we have more battles evolving as we work our way down towards Paddock Hill Bend. This is a little bit lower down for 22nd place, but again you can find someone to battle with. That's Claudia Casina. He works the way up the hill now in towards Druids Corner, and they are very close together, but that car is under attack at the minute from 102, which is Rick Turner, the man who pushes on in his Mini Cooper S as well. So all the way down the order, good battles going on, but there's one now starting to evolve for what's going to be second place, because all of a sudden Jeff Smith has got his kind of self back into the motion to try and move forward, and as they work their way in towards Paddock Hill Bend, we've got 3 for second place now. There's 3 cars with only 2 places available on the podium, and Phil Bullock-Brown very shortly is going to come under attack here from Jeff Smith.
He is indeed. So Jeff Smith is just starting to apply that pressure in all of the right places. So we'll keep an eye on Jeff as he now flies his way through Graham Hill Bend, and Phil Bullock-Brown, he's got to think about exactly where he's going to place this car, because he's very quickly running out of time. It was only a few moments ago we were saying that there's still, 14 minutes left. That's down to 9.5 minutes now. Nathan Heathcote picks his way through Clark Curve, the final corner, onto the Brabham Straight and towards the line to tick what will be lap number 11 in the book, heading on to lap number 12 next time through. Phil Bullock-Brown is still running around in second place, albeit the pressure is really starting to mount now as Jeff Smith will have a look to the inside by the time they arrive at turn 1, narrowly avoids the pit exit wall, and breathe in, somehow gets the car up the inside, position made. That was close.
Yeah, it certainly was, and I don't think we saw on the shot there that there was a back marker in the way as well, so the gap got smaller and smaller as Philbin and Brown tried to squeeze through the middle and didn't really know that Jeff Smith was with that much pace trying to get through on the inside line. So Jeff Smith does get the job done. Now into second position, Philbin and Brown down to the final step on the podium, and watch out because Endalf Owens, we know he's already quit today in his other car, but he's now in this pre-66 Mini and trying to charge his way onto the podium as well. Mike Jordan we can't really rule out. I think over this lap he's starting to bring that gap down. Was 3.1 seconds, so we'll see what Mike has got left in the tank in the final 8.5 minutes as they come to the completion of lap number 12. Nathan Heathcote through once more, and for second position is Philbin and Brown. Going to go back ahead of Jeff Smith. He gets close. He's not going to quite send it to the inside in towards paddock, so as you were, but Endalf Owens now onto the tail of our third place man.
Absolutely, Endalf Owens will try and close that gap evermore. Lights ablaze on his car is in typical sort of Endalf style. When he's on a mission, he will turn his lights on just to get in the heads of those drivers up the road. So it's Jeff Smith, Philbin and Brown from Endalf Owens at 4 now. 7 3/4 minutes of this race still to go. Bouncing over the curb through Graham Hill Bend goes Jeff Smith, and he will see just about Nathan Heathcote up the road. Peering through the heat haze, he is effectively a full Cooper straight into the lead now, but very sideways on the run through Surtees is Jeff Smith. He takes a slightly more defensive approach on the way in. That may leave him vulnerable on the exit. Can Philbin and Brown get the better run on towards the start-finish straight and close in once more? Don't rule out Endalf Owens, and whilst all this battling is going on, quite rightly said by yourself, Matt, Mike Jordan, if they battle continuously for the next 7 minutes, we may just about see Mike Jordan in there as well. Yeah,
let's see if he can continue to push on. We've got another battle further back as well, which is just coming onto the start-finish line on this occasion. That's going to be between Woodrow, Ogden and one of the Edgcombs in the car. They are sharing that for today. So the Edgcombe, by the looks of it, are going down the inside line in towards Paddock Hill Bend, and in fact on that lap the 101 machine of Stephen Woodrow lost 2 places, so the slightly darker blue car, now third in that train up at Druids, has lost the 2 positions. And it was the Edgcombes in the lighter blue car which has worked its way through, and they're going to be side by side downhill once again, so it's not quite going to swap around on this occasion. The number 21 machine of the Edgcombes still ahead of Woodrow as they power themselves along the back straight here at Brands Hatch up towards Surtees Al Flick, and it's great to see the cars there working to their full limits. They are kind of one way back to the next, and of course they are natural as they should be and to show them what they used to be back in the day.
Yeah, and it will be, I'd imagine, Stephen Woodrow behind the wheel and Kieran Edgcombe going off what we can see on the live stream, but Stephen Woodrow, he's up 9 places from where he started, and he will want to continue that upward trend, make that 8 as he's lost the position on the lap prior. I think we've had a slightly poor lap from Dan Lewis as well, because he's lost 3 places on the lap prior, so it is now the time where we're starting to see the order shuffle around once more. Later on the brakes, diving up the inside is Kieran Edgcombe. He wants to try and defend and attack all at the same time. There's back markers in there. He doesn't want to lose out to the position he's just got off Stephen Woodrow, but he also wants to work his way through and past the number 45 machine of David Ogden. It's a tricky position to be in when you're in the middle of 3 cars, because you want to go forward and attack, but you don't want to forget about that car behind you, but you don't want to think about the car behind you too much, because then you lose time to the leading car.
Yeah, you just want to go as flat out as possible, but of course that is easier said than done in these sorts of races, especially when you're in a midst of a battle. So that one continues. Still keeping an eye on what's happening for second place. Jeff Smith has not really got away at the minute from Philbin and Brown, so they are still fairly close. Endalf Evans even closer now to the back of them in what's going to be the final step on the podium. So Endalf Owens continues to try his hardest to get through. Freddie Hunt trying to make a move as well on the number 85 machine of Sam Summerhays. That doesn't quite come off, and that battle up the road still continues as well between what's going to be Page, Ogden and also Edgcombe and also Woodrow as well. So more back markers by the looks to deal with as they dive the way towards Graham Hill Bend, and Ogden now looks like he's dropped behind actually the number 21 machine of what's going to be Kieran Edgcombe.
Yeah, so Kieran Edgcombe will have his sights set ever higher, but I think they may have swapped around once again, have they? The number 45 machine of David Ogden back in front, and that may be why, because Kieran Edgcombe with a big moment on the exit of Clearways as they nip their way through Clark Curve now all of a sudden, back up the inside goes Stephen Woodrow, and Kieran Edgecombe goes from looking good for 7th, potentially back down into 9th place, but he just about has the legs in the straight line, does he? No, Stephen Woodrow. Yes, has to hold on to 9th place because that car just isn't quite as quick in a straight line. Very sideways was Kieran Edgecombe on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend, and that shows just how hard they're pushing. They might not be setting the timing screen alight with the fastest laps we've seen all day, but what that is doing is just showing how close to the limit they are. And I said a few laps ago we may have seen a poor lap from Dan Lewis. Unfortunately, I think that's him out of the race now.
Yeah, certainly is, unfortunately for him. I think he's just pulled in, actually, yeah, the back entrance to the pit lane through the exit of Graham Hill Bend. So that car is currently being towed away. But as we now have the change for 3rd place, don't we? Yeah, because through has gone Endorf Owens, finally getting the job done that lap on Phil Bullen-Brown as he turns nicely in towards Paddock Hill Bend, takes a strange line, but this is how the minis seem to go through the corner at Paddock, and still with lights ablaze on Endorf Owens' number 20 machine. He still has a potential chance of trying to get past Jeff Smith as well. That one is not over. He might be a second behind, but now that he's cleared Phil Bullen-Brown, he has his eyes and sights firmly set on another step up the podium. Yeah,
and with 3 minutes remaining, we know how quick Endorf can be when he needs to be. It just requires Jeff Smith just to make a small mistake and fall back into the clutches of Endorf Owens. I think it was a matter of when, not if, he would get through past Phil Bullen-Brown. But Nathan Heathcote, he's had a very, very rare opportunity to be effectively gifted the time to drive away. That's not something you get that often, if at all, in mini racing, is it?
No, very comfortable indeed. He's just done this since the outset. Every single lap he's managed to charge away. Does come down by half a second on that lap, but again, he's just kind of working his way through some traffic, just taking it easy, not really worrying. As off the road straight there goes the number 9 machine, unfortunately. So Neil MacArthur in that, the Wolseley is in the wars a little bit there, but just manages to get it stopped before it hits the tyres.
It looked odd. It didn't look like a lock-up because there was no tyre smoke, so I don't know whether it was just brake fade. He hit the pedal, which was supposed to stop the car and throw the anchor out, and it didn't quite work for him. He ended right the way up the hill, and now that will be why, unfortunately, we have had wheel part ways with the car, and as that wheel bounces around, he finds himself depositing his car in the gravel just to try and get that car stopped. So that explains the issue as to why it didn't stop, but unfortunately, the wheel being the wheel, it wants to try and wheel his way back over the track, which has done so successfully, and now it's onto the grass. It's well and truly out of the way, so that's at least that thrown to the back of our mind for a brief moment. Nathan Heathcote has got just a couple more laps of this race to go, and as he picks his way through Druids, yes, he will get one more lap out of this one. The wheel has finally come to a stop and fallen onto its side, but it does now mean one of the best overtaking opportunities in towards clearways. If you can nip your way up through the inside, fortunately it's now covered by yellow flags.
Yeah, that wheel was trying to wheel itself back to the pit lane on its own, wasn't it, without its owner, so it didn't quite make it, but it was heading in the right direction, which is good. But unfortunately for that car of Neil MacArthur, the Wolseley Hornet did have a problem down towards Graham Hill Bend, and then of course the problem became more apparent as it worked its way up towards McLaren there, so not good news for that car. But for Nathan Heathcote, is about to head his way through onto the last lap of the race with 35 seconds left on the clock. He heads now down towards Paddock Hill Bend. The gap back to Jeff Smith is still going to be around about the 5-second mark, in fact 4.3 on this occasion, and then Endorf Owens now pretty comfortable in 3rd place because Phil Bullen-Brown has dropped back to the extent of 3.3 seconds.
He has indeed. So after a very rare opportunity for Nathan Heathcote to run away in the lead of this race, all he needs to do is pick his way through traffic as cleanly as possible on this very final lap, and he will be able to see the checkered flag. Endorf Owens really starting to push on now, and if anything, he is starting to apply that pressure onto Jeff Smith. 2nd place isn't exactly decided, is it?
No, not yet, so it could all come to a conclusion by the time we get to the line. So we'll keep an eye on Endorf Owens and see what he can do on the back of that of Jeff Smith as they work their way towards the line. But after hiatus of quite a few years, it's nice to have the Sanwa trophy back with us with the Pre-66 Minis, and it will be Nathan Heathcote who takes the first win of the day in true fashion there as the Mini came across the line very much sideways, so well done to him. 2nd place goes the way of Jeff Smith, and Endorf Owens does get to the podium. He misses out on another step by just 0.3 of a second in the end. Phil Bullen-Brown next through in 4th place. Mike Jordan with a bit of a lonely race on his own in 5th. 6th place then will go the way of number 33, which comes across the line now of Matthew Page. He was involved in quite a scrabble there, wasn't he, with the number 21 machine of Kieran Edgecombe and also the number 45 car of David Ogden. Then behind that in 9th position it was Stephen Woodrow, and for 10th it will be the number 10 machine of Freddie Hunt, who is a little bit up and down like a yo-yo in that race. Once inside the top 10, then back out of it and towards the checker flag. He does manage to get back inside in that wonderful livery for this weekend, and then the rest of the field all come through. We should have around about 24 finishers, because right towards the end, unfortunately diving for the pit lane was Sam Summerhays. So he had some issues in the closing stages, so he doesn't make it to the checker flag, and nor do quite a few others, unfortunately, with either mechanical issues, wheels parting company, or some contacts. But hopefully, again, we'll see the majority of them back out later on to conclude the Sanwa Trophy for the Pre-66 Minis. Nice to have that sponsorship on board for this weekend as well. But Nathan Heathcote is your winner, with the quickest lap as well, 57.458. Jeff Smith finishes 2nd, ahead of Endolph Owens and Phil Bullen-Brown. Mike Jordan, Matthew Page and Kieran Edgecombe next up, with David Ogden, Stephen Woodrow and Freddie Hunt completing the top 10. Mark Burnett and Simon Goodliff were 11th and 12th, and then Amy Watts, a good run for 13th place ahead of Daniel Wheeler. Charlie Cooper and Tom Wesley next up, and then 17th place for Alexander Schluchter, with Nigel Fraser-Kerr, Joe Polly and Raphael Edouard in 20th. Benjamin Chiron, Bruce Galliford, Sam Summerhays with that retirement and into the pits at the end, and Francesca Roodhouse was in 24th place, took the checker flag, and so did Jean-Francois Bardot in 25th position. You can see the non-finishers in the end, which equated to 8 with the addition of Sam Summerhays as well. So there we have the Sanwa Trophy for the Pre-66 Minis. As I said, a nice return to the Mini Festival for this year after 8 years away, but returning to celebrate the 65-year anniversary of the Minis.
So we've got the podium ready for the first race of the weekend in the Sanwa Trophy for the Pre-66 Mini. So we'll bring them on in reverse order. From Owens Fabrication, car number 20 in 3rd place, Endolph Owens. Onto the podiums, Jeff Smith over the moon with that one. And in 2nd place, car number 55. Once again on the podium is Jeff Smith. Onto the podium with their Swift Tune caps. Trophies will be appointed to them later. And they need to swap caps. The 1st place cap will very quickly be swapped around with Nathan Heathcote, but he is our winner. Onto the podium, car number 155, Nathan Heathcote wins the first race of the weekend for the Sanwa Trophy in the Pre-66 Minis. So those are your top 3. They will have their trophy presentation later on, but that's the first podium for the Sanwa Trophy Pre-66 Minis. They get their race underway later on this afternoon, their 2nd race, another 20-minute race coming up later on today after the lunch break. But in the meantime, back up to Matt in the commentary box.